Welcome back. Let's dive right into this Honda St1300. So why do you get a bike like this and who's it for? First, the slip-on exhaust on this makes this bike sound exactly as it should have sounded from the factory instead of really soft and docile. This thing lets you know how much horsepower is in this bike and what it can actually do. You know, the interesting thing about these bigger sport tourings like this Honda St1300 is, yes, it's a 1300cc. Yes, it weighs 700 pounds, but this is a extremely forgiving bike. And, you know, myself, I'm 6'4", 240. Somebody who weighs 100 pounds more than me, somebody who's taller than me, is going to jump on this bike and feel extremely comfortable as well. If you have two passengers on, you're going to feel comfortable as well. I think where this bike starts to get difficult for riders is if you're shorter than about 5'7" or 5'8", depending on your physique, obviously, because when you're talking about a 700-pound bike, you probably don't want to be tippy-toeing it, you know, because if you do start to lean extremely over to one side, that's 700 pounds that you need to get upright. Now, while you're driving the bike, you don't feel any of that weight. This bike rides like a sport bike. You can throw it into turns. You can really get on the gas, and it is no slouch. It will really get up and go. But it doesn't obviously have that same feeling of like an R1, a CBR, 1000cc, you know, super sport, right? But it's really not slow. I mean, there's a couple of times where I was at a light with a couple of sport bike guys and, you know, it was either right on their tail or left them. There's just a lot of good grunt down end. The power bandwidth is good really throughout. And again, you know, some people call this the baby Goldwing because these things, if you jump on Google, if you do a little bit of online research, if you put 250,000 miles on this, no one really cares until you go past about 500,000 and they're like, okay, you put some miles on it. And that's what sport tours are. They just do this. And a lot of people don't understand that. So you can find these bikes between 80,000 and 120,000 miles on them for sale, usually adult owned, usually in good condition, for under $3,500. And in my opinion, if you want to put some miles on a bike, or if you just want to do some commuting, this is a really, really good bike for that. You still get good gas mileage. You have a bigger bike. And another key thing about this bike when I was riding that I noticed is a lot of people notice this bike more so. Could be because, again, it's used by police departments, even though it's not the black and white. Could be because it's a taller bike. Could be because it's a bigger bike. But I did notice a lot more people see you versus, you know, if I'm jumping on my R1 or CBR or even the Honda Shadow. You know, there's so many more people that actually notice you on this bike. The other thing is these luggage compartments that are on the side are really easy to take off. They're all lockable. So there's a lock to actually open it, and there's a lock to take it off the bike, which not only makes it secure, but really easy if you're, you know, taking this thing down the coast and you stop at a hotel. You can just pick those things up, take them in the hotel room with you, and they're going to act as your suitcases. Another fantastic thing about this bike, there's many, but the brakes on this bike. I have not once found myself lacking any stopping power on this bike. And I mean, this thing stops better than a fair amount of sport bikes that are out there. It really, I mean, you can feel it. I mean, you're just, when you brake hard on this thing, you can really feel it kind of throw you forward, because this thing comes to a stop really, really good. That ABS is phenomenal. You've got the typical creature comforts on this one, so you have that windshield that goes up and down. Again, I'm 6'4". This thing goes way over my head, so if it's raining, if it's cold, you'll really appreciate that. It also does have the heated grips as well. But all in all, sport tours, usually it's for somebody who maybe has started out on a sport bike and likes the feel of a sport bike, or somebody who wants, like myself, to sit higher and actually have more visibility, especially if you're going on long trips to see, you know, around the bends, to see what's coming up. For me, it makes me feel safer, but also too on a sport bike, because that's where I started. I feel like I'm just a better rider on sports bikes. It's just a natural feel. I understand the comfort of a cruiser. Had them, I think they're great, but all in all, if I were to pick any bike to be my bike, it's either going to be a sport bike style bike or an adventure bike. And that also too goes because, you know, I'm a tall guy. But at the end of the day, these things, if you can get one in good condition, under 120,000 miles on it for 3,200 or less, this is a win, especially because these kind of bikes, especially this bike specifically, is known for going well over 500,000 miles. So that's my 2 cents. Let's take it for a ride. Helmet mount hasn't come yet. We're going to go ahead and take a ride using the chest mount. I'm going to go over some speed bumps, get it down to like 20 miles an hour, and then pull it out at a 3rd and 4th gear so that you can see it still has enough torque to pull it out. That's what I mean by very forgiving. The clutch is very forgiving. The fact that the brakes are amazing just makes this bike a joy to ride. I'm also going to split some traffic and give it the gas a couple of times. So sit back and enjoy the ride.